Welcome to the March 23rd, 2022 City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board public hearing. We'll begin by taking roll call. Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Board Member Ayers.
Here.
Board Member Crockett is absent. Board Member Allen.
Here.
Board Member Boyle.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Villanueva Salcedo.
Here.
And Chair Sarkisian is here. As part of today's agenda, we have a consent agenda, and it'll be read into the record and acted on in one motion. They will not be discussed individually. We will be removing items 3A and 3B from the consent agenda. They will be heard after. And I will introduce Vice Chair Villanueva Salcedo, who will read the consent agenda.
Our consent agenda for Wednesday, March 23rd, Planning and Zoning Board public hearing. Item 2A, minutes from the March 9th, 2022 study session and regular meeting. Item 3C, ZON 22-00048, District 4, within the 1400 to 1600 blocks of East Dana Avenue North Side, located south of Main Street and east of Stapley Drive, site plan review. This request will allow for the expansion of an existing multiple residence development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4A, ZON 21-00435, District 2, within the 4400 block of East Baseline Road North Side, located east of Greenfield Road on the north side of Baseline Road, site plan modification. This request will allow for a multi-tenant retail building with a drive-through. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4B, ZON 21-00921, District 5, within the 10,000 block of East Southern Avenue North Side and within the 1,000 to 1,200 blocks of South Crisman Road East Side, located north of Southern Avenue and east of Crisman Road, rezoned from limited commercial with the planned area development overlay, LCPAD, to multiple residence 3 with the planned area development overlay, RM3PAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for a multiple residence development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4C, ZON 21-01024, District 6, within the 7,200 to 7,400 blocks of South Haas Road alignment east side, located south of Pecos Road on the east side of the Haas Road alignment, rezoned from light industrial with the bonus intensity zone overlay, and office commercial with the bonus intensity zone overlay, LIBIZ and OCBIZ, to light industrial and office commercial with the planned area development overlay, LIPAD and OCPAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. And that is today's consent agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. We haven't received any additional comments on that. Have we seen anything on those? Nope. All right. So I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Do I have a second? All right. First and a second. Please vote. Board Member Boyle.
Aye.
Board Member Allen.
Aye.
And Board Member Crockett is absent. So the consent agenda passes with Board Member Crockett absent. All right, moving on to item 3A. The items we'll be hearing, if anybody has any other comment cards, please make sure you fill out the blue card in the back and hand it in up front. And we have a stack and comments we will read into record as well. But item 3A, ZON 21-01224, District 6, within the 3,700 to 4,100 blocks of South Everton Terrace, located west of Signal Beat Road and south of Elliott Road, site plan review. This request will allow for the industrial development within the Eastmark Plan community. And Kelly is here.
Members of the board, this is case ZON 21-01224. The subject request before you tonight is for site plan review to allow for an industrial development. The subject site is located west of Signal Butte Road on the south side of Elliott and just east of Everton Terrace within the Eastmark Plan community. To get more specific into the location, the subject site is south of the Elliott Road Technology Corridor, and it's within an area known as the Eastmark Technology Enterprise Core. And some of the developments that have already been approved in this area include Facebook, Amazon, and Apple. The site is not directly on Elliott Road. It is south of Elliott Road, and then south of that is the Eastmark Disc Golf Course, and then south of that is residential. In the development unit plan for DU56 South, where the subject site is located, it states that the appropriate transition and buffering techniques include the use of open space, park areas, setbacks, berms, landscaping, road connections, walls, buildings, placement, and architecture. Because this site is close to residential, the separation that's already being used is that existing disc golf course. The applicant has also increased their building and landscape setbacks. So the general plan character area is mixed-use community, and the focus of that character area is to develop a mixture of uses that create a complete and identifiable community. The uses allowed include employment, industrial, office, open space, and residential. The site's also within the Gateway Strategic Development Plan area, specifically within the mixed-use community district, and that district is intended to be kind of the greatest variety of a mix of uses to create a live, work, play environment. And the request complies with both the general plan and the Gateway Strategic Development Plan area. The zoning on the site is planned community. The site's also within the AOA 3 area, and again, the site is within Development Unit 5-6 South. The land use group that has been determined is Land Use Group C, which is for regional center and campus, and warehouses and office spaces are permitted. And just kind of an overview of how the Eastmark framework works. So there's the community plan, which sets the overall vision for the entire community. It lays out the planning processes for individual applications. It has the allowable land uses, development units, and includes an overall infrastructure master plans and the general design guidelines and development standards. The next level is the development unit plan. And the development unit plan really supplies the context and conceptual land planning for individual areas within Eastmark, and it allocates land use budget and the use intensity, and it has permitted land use groups, more specific design guidelines, and is really there to create the compatibility between uses. And lastly, there's the site plan and subdivision plats. That is the most detailed level of review. And when you do the site plan review, you identify which land use group you will be using. Again, the subject request is to use the land use group C. And the specific site details need to comply with the development unit plan and the community plan at that level. So here's an existing photo of the site. So this is looking southeast towards the site from Elliott Road. It's behind this vacant parcel you see here along Elliott Road. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you can see some of the residential houses in the background, and then on the left-hand side, you can see the existing Apple development. On the site plan.
Yeah, we can't see anything.
So on the
Right.
site plan.
Yeah, just
Keep going. They're showing 10 buildings that are divided by Mesquite Road. 5 will be located north of Mesquite Road. The other 5 are located on the south side of Mesquite Road. The combined square footage of all the buildings is over 1.5 million square feet. And primary access will be from Everton Terrace and Mesquite Road. Because they are choosing the LUG-C land use group, they are providing almost 24 open space areas around the site to create that, that network amongst the group development. And to get a little bit more specific in the site plan, so there has been some concerns raised by the neighbors. In this image, I provided the location of where the 4 streets of Everton Terrace turn into 2 streets, which is south of Mesquite Road. The distance from Mesquite Road to the southern property line is over 900 feet. The width of the disc golf course at its minimum point is about 140 feet. And then the minimum distance from an industrial building to a residential lot is at a minimum of 303 feet. So here are the proposed elevations of the site. The elevations were reviewed and approved by the Eastmark Design Review Committee. Their preliminary approval was approved on December 9th. Once the site plan is approved, they'll go back and get their final approval through the Eastmark Design Review Committee. So the applicants did complete their citizen participation process, and preliminary outreach included property owners within 1,000 feet and HOAs and registered neighborhoods within 1 mile. They did hold 1 neighborhood meeting via Zoom on February 16, 2022. Myself and the applicants also held another meeting with a smaller group of neighbors that had additional questions last week, just to explain kind of how the process works for site plans within Eastmark. They did do their required notice of public hearing where they mailed letters to property owners within 500 feet. I know there have been some confusion on what the public notice range is and then what their outreach for citizen participation was. So they did meet the 500 feet requirement. And then some of the concerns that were brought up include trucks going south on Everton Terrace into that residential area where the 4 lanes become 2 lanes going south. And then also light spillage, noise concerns, compatibility issues. Some other concerns that were brought up is just the overall process of how site plans work in Eastmark. And then just, again, just compatibility was really the main one. And so with that, staff finds that the request complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan. It complies with the Eastmark Community Plan. It complies with the development unit plan for DU 56 South, and it meets the review criteria for site plan review, which is outlined in section 6.1 of the community plan. And staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board member questions at this time? No. All right. I'd like to invite the applicant up to present if they want. Please state your name and address for the record when you're ready.
Wonderful. Madam Chair, members of the commission, Wendy Riddell with the law firm Barry Riddell, 6750 East Camelback. My pleasure to be here this afternoon on behalf of IndyCap. We are here today on a site plan review case for IndyCap. As staff mentioned to you, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Staff obviously has given you quite a bit of background. This is a site that is already zoned. It's been zoned as part of the original Eastmark master plan, the same time the residential property was zoned. The site itself is 116 acres. We're proposing 10 buildings with a maximum of 55 feet in height. And this is all within the Eastmark Technology Enterprise Core. While we certainly are not here to talk about land use, I will point out that there was quite a bit of thought that went into that enterprise core, as well as keeping this area industrial in large part to protect the airport. So if you look back, Mesa has known that that airport is a very valuable economic engine and has driven some land use decisions around that. And that's part of what has brought us here today. So as I mentioned, we are a use that is permitted by right. You can see our particular LUG, the Regional Center Campus. You can see that it calls out specifically the use. It also talks about some of the development standards. In fact, we're allowed to be up to 150 feet in height. Certainly that is not what we're proposing here today. Again, when you break down that matrix in Eastmark a little further, it talks about these types of warehouses again as being permitted uses, if you can see that. And then just to give you an idea of what this looks like when you actually overlay it on the aerial for the area, you can see the relationship between the surrounding uses, the location ultimately of Mesquite Road. I've got a little better graphic here that shows it as we drill down. So quite a bit of consideration was also given, particularly on the property south of Mesquite. So comparison of the setbacks, you obviously have quite a bit of setback from that disc golf course that staff mentioned. That was part of the open space buffering. That was part of the original plan. But in addition to that, we've got quite a bit of setback from our own property line. In fact, it could have been right at the property line at 0 feet. We're actually set back 60 feet. So when you ultimately combine our entire proposal with that disc golf course, you are looking effectively at the length of a football field without the end zones. So that is how far back from that property to the edge of our building we actually are. The same is true when you look up at Everton Terrace. So we are set back, nearly the same distance with 250 feet, where we could have been 6 or to 11 feet. So a very dense setback. I would also point out, if you looked at that landscape plan, it kind of looks like we're building a forest. That was also quite intentional. So it will, in fact, that's not just illustrative, it will be that densely landscaped and vegetated, again, to make sure that there is a screening here between the industrial and the residential. To give you an idea of what the buildings themselves will look like, you get an idea here of the type of building, the type of architecture, the pop-ups, the breaking up of the massing. Just a little different viewpoint here as well. And then, as staff mentioned, we did have quite a bit of neighborhood outreach as part of this application. I would say one of the biggest concerns we heard was that there would be truck traffic in the Eastmark neighborhood itself. And so we shared this exhibit actually as part of our outreach as well. When you look at it, the trucks here, truckers are pretty predictable. They don't like to go into residential neighborhoods. They're going to take the path of least resistance, the most direct path to the freeway or to the airport. And the roads were actually designed on Everton Terrace going north of Mesquite. They're wider to take you up to Elliott to the freeway. So that's the anticipated truck traffic. There will be no trucks turning south or going into the neighborhood. There's simply no reason for them to do that. I also wanted to show you out on site, as I mentioned, the roadway on Everton Terrace as you go north of Mesquite, and actually, frankly, a little bit south of Mesquite, is actually wider. So it is 4 lanes. It was always anticipated to handle that type of truck traffic, and then it narrows as you get down south into ultimately the neighborhood. And then finally, again, we did go ahead and host a neighborhood meeting as part of this on February 16th. We invited 347 people. 36 were kind enough to show up. We had some other neighbors that asked for a follow-up meeting that we met with them and invited staff to participate as well. We have had countless phone calls, countless emails, really trying to disseminate information to the community, and have exceeded ultimately the notification and outreach requirements here. And then finally, just as a reminder, the site is already zoned and entitled. We are simply seeking site plan approval for a use that is permitted by right. It complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan. It complies with the development unit for DU 56 South. And staff has confirmed for you it meets all of the site plan review outlined in the community plan, and they have recommended approval. And with that, Madam Chair and members of the commission, we would also respectfully request approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Just so clarification, on the site plan, you're showing, it looks like like you mentioned, the road, Mesquite Road is going to end up connecting to the east?
That's correct, yeah. It goes all the way to, ultimately through to Signal Butte.
Okay, so it's got access to there as well. Okay. Are there any board member comments or questions at this time? No. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll open the public meeting. We have a variety of comment cards, people who wish their comments read, people who want to speak. So we'll be going through those. Deanna, is that Vice Chair?
Thank you. There are quite a number of comments that wish to be read into the record, so we'll start with that grouping first. Nellie McCarthy Bittner at 10116 East Supernova Drive, opposed. As a resident of Everton Heights, I strongly oppose this development. It will bring safety concerns to an already congested Everton Terrace by allowing semi-trucks and thousands of employees on the street. I've been told that traffic would stay on the northern end and head to the 202. Parts of the neighborhood only have Everton as an access road. This will push all local traffic south and isn't a solution. The presentation provided is misleading. The slide photo on slide 12 shows the intersection of Everton Terrace and Elliott, which includes a parcel of land to the north of the development. Scott Bittner, 10116 East Supernova Drive, is opposed. Asked the comment to be read. This is not what my family and I envisioned, nor what the residents of Eastmark were sold when we moved to the so-called technology corridor of Mesa. We were sold on the plans for a tight-knit community with high-tech manufacturing employment opportunities, not warehouses and commercial trucking. Section B2 of the DUP for DU6 North states that jobs created in the employment core of DU6N will not only support the families in the community, but also enrich the lives of the families living in the neighborhoods nearby. Warehouses in our backyard do not enrich our lives. We do not want this. Next is Tracy Bedwell, 10510 East Sheffield Drive, opposed. Asked the comment to be read. This area of Mesa is already congested. Everton Terrace is already a dangerous road to drive on with just Eastmark residents using it. Once you add in that many employees and semi-tractor trailers, it will get exponentially worse. Everton Terrace between Ellsworth and Point 22 should not have major business. Next is Gregory Cole, Mesa, Arizona, 85212, opposed. Asked the comment to be read. The safety of children walking to school, waiting on the sidewalk for their school bus, and residents who use the road to exercise is impractical when semi-trucks are traveling down such a narrow road. This issue alone should be the main reason to reconsider having a warehouse built in this area. It is a bad idea. Next is Tara Unlin, 4203 South Neptune, is opposed. There are too many large warehouses in the area of Eastmark. The addition of another one will negatively impact our quality of life. This is not what we were promised by developers when we built our home here. Please listen to the community and do not approve this. Sophia Morrison, 10202 East Revolution Drive. Revolution Drive is opposed. There's not enough room on the streets for this many vehicles and big trucks. The noise and lights is going to be disruptive to homeowners. These buildings weren't in the plans when I purchased my home. I oppose this. Next is Travis Miller, 4211 South Nano. Opposed. What is going on with Mesa planning? This board does not know what it's approving. Last month, the Mesquite subdivision plat was approved. The road ran over a utility easement. No one noticed till it was discovered by citizens. Planning has no regard for legally required processes. PZ 22061 is another example. There's no project narrative, no traffic study, and the citizen participation report is incomplete, which are required by 11672C. On March 7th, Dr. Appia said these issues would be addressed at the site plan level. This application is incomplete, illegal, and should be denied. Chad Shipman, 4145 South Plasma, opposed. Me and my wife opposed this warehouse development while moving to Eastmark almost 3 years ago. We saw it as an opportunity to raise our kids, family in a widely developed neighborhood. Never did we foresee or think that these massive warehouses would go up behind us. With the increased traffic and employees it brings to our neighborhood, I fear it will cause havoc on our streets and increase crime to our neighborhood. We cannot allow these already narrow roads to flood our neighborhood with trucks and cars where our kids will potentially roam. Thank you. Next is Amber Rogers, 10356 East Sebring Avenue, opposed. I was okay with the Amazon and Facebook distribution centers going in along Elliott because it wouldn't impede traffic in my neighborhood. But this warehouse being proposed to be built adjacent to our community with 2,000 parking spaces slotted and semi-trucks entering off Everton Terrace, congesting traffic even more, it's a no for me. It's my understanding that the city won't allow Crisman to open north-south from Elliott to Guadalupe for this exact same reason. So why is it okay to do this south of Elliott on Crisman? Caitlin Thompson, 4860 South Covalent Lane, is opposed. As a resident of Eastmark, I strongly oppose the outlet of Mesquite Road onto Everton Terrace. Everton Terrace is a narrow residential street with heavy foot traffic. There are many school bus stops along Everton Terrace, and therefore young children walking along the roadway. We all know the feeling of the large whoosh of a semi-truck drives right past us on the road. Children should not be dealing with that while walking, scootering, or riding their bicycles on this residential home from school. The safety of Eastmark residents must be placed at a higher priority. Sean O'Connor, 9957 East Rotation Drive, is opposed. The Eastmark community is being developed and sold to new home buyers around the concept of families in a safe neighborhood where children can play and adults can enjoy long walks in a quiet, beautiful area without the noise and massive concrete structures in view. Bringing 2,000 employees to a massive warehouse should be considered to be relocated in an area where it's more appropriate, not Eastmark, and not in an area building homes averaging 800,000 to $1 million plus. Thank you for your consideration. Teresa Nishan, 11308 East Sandoval, opposed. I vehemently oppose the addition of another huge warehouse in the Eastmark area off Everton. This lovely residential community is already being taxed with warehouses off Ellsworth. The traffic is getting beyond busy and unmanageable in this area, and that's not even addressing what right now is completed. This additional structure with the proposed 2,000 car lot is more than this entire community will be able to stand. We're beginning to look like the far West Valley. Please consider and vote no for this additional warehouse. Enough is enough. Raina Johnson, 10305 East Strobe Avenue, is opposed. I oppose this warehouse development. This is a residential area, and these semi-trucks and traffic are not safe and will cause extreme traffic and devalue our property. Paul Landis, 4161 South Apollo, is opposed. I do not support this project in my community. The proposed warehouse will negatively impact property values due to increased noise and traffic levels. Please vote no. Wilford Jalbert, 9948 East Revolution Drive, is opposed. I oppose this construction. This will create a major traffic issue into a residential area, as you will have new roads intersecting Everton Terrace that each have several entrances into this new complex along with entrances along Everton Terrace itself. This will cause a hazard with the addition of semi-truck usage and residential drivers. This type of commercial construction should not be allowed as it will reduce the value of each property in this residential area. A redesign should be done to stop the addition roads intersecting with Everton Terrace and no entrances from Everton Terrace. Jacob Landai, 4234 South Neutron, is opposed. This planned warehouse development is a travesty to all of the families who have paid a premium to be in a safe, quiet neighborhood where we were promised a community free from disgusting traffic and noise for years to come. As a resident of Eastmark, I fully condemn any building of warehouses with parking to litter our beautiful neighborhood. Jillian Lawnson, no address provided, is opposed. When our family moved here in 2016, it was not conveyed to us that our residential community would be surrounded by data warehouses, commercial warehouses, power lines, and now proposed planned zoning for semi-truck loading, unloading warehouses with thousands of parking spots for employees. If I knew this to be the case 6 years ago, I would have been second-guessing my family's move into Eastmark. We were sold a family master plan community to be surrounded by shopping, restaurants, theaters. We are now a warehouse district that will be consumed by higher traffic volume and congestion. Alex Chavette, 9929 East Retrograde Drive, is opposed. Too much, too close to a residential community that has already been shortchanged on certain amenities. Kelly Devlin, 4121 South Nano, is opposed. As a homeowner who uses Everton Terrace daily, I am very concerned about the traffic impact and safety of this project. I believe a traffic study should be conducted in this area. Children, bikers, pedestrians, disc golf course users, etc., use this road throughout the day, and large semi-trucks and increased traffic pose a safety hazard. From the size of the handicap project and parking space allotment, it seems that it would be warranted. I'm also worried about this affecting the home values in our area. It will add light pollution, massive amounts of noise, and block mountain views. Kimberly Bergar, Address not provided, opposed. Everton Terrace will not support this kind of traffic. There needs to be another solution, or at the very least, an environmental impact survey conducted. I highly doubt semis will be able to make the turn in. Ryan Parkhouse, 9936 East Rubidium Avenue, opposed. I do not wish to have a small two-lane road like Everton Terrace to be utilized by hundreds of semis weekly, as this is a residential street that is relied on by a vast majority of EM residents and cannot be bogged down by commercial vehicles, not to mention the noise and air pollution. Ashley Marshall, 10312 East Revolution Drive. I strongly oppose zoning file number PZ22061. Everton Terrace is not equipped to handle the traffic that this warehouse would undoubtedly attract. The streets are narrow, not meant for semi-truck traffic. I should also mention that this neighborhood has a high population of children. There are multiple bus stops along Everton Terrace. My children are just a few of many that ride the bus and walk home. I fear for their safety already, and this would only add to that concern. This neighborhood street should not be used for semi-truck traffic, even if just at the north end. Thank you. Kirby Doty, 4709 South Aileron Lane, opposed. If I had known that our house was going to end up in the middle of an industrial warehouse district, we most likely would have picked a different neighborhood. We would love to see some restaurants, retail, maybe a small theater, or maker space. We definitely don't need industrial traffic and 2,000 space parking lot. Cindy Lucas, 10122 East Gamma, opposed. I live in Eastmark, and with all the warehouses now under construction, traffic is going to be a nightmare, not to mention that damage big rigs will cause to our streets. So sad that so many businesses will be put into a small space. I've lived in the area for 20 years, and where shopping and restaurant space was promised, now ugly warehouses are going up. This is not bringing value to this area, will only bring home validation down. Amy Gordon, 10134 East Supernova Drive, opposed. I fully oppose this development, as Everton Heights is not adequately sized to support both the traffic from this volume of semis and warehouse employees and the traffic and the neighborhood traffic. Additionally, the size and number of semis will make it difficult for people who have paid a great deal of money to make Eastmark their home to get into and out of the neighborhood. Finally, Eastmark needs businesses that support the community, restaurants and stores, not this type of business. This development needs to be rejected now before it's too late. Thank you. Samantha Delgadillo, 9955 East Seismic Avenue, opposed. The type and amount of traffic this project brings into a residential neighborhood is completely illogical. Everton Terrace has been proven accident-prone for the traffic that it was designed for, so one can only imagine how dangerous it will be with traffic that doesn't align with the design. The residents of Eastmark will hold the city and representatives accountable legally and in the media for the guaranteed accidents and risks to our children that will come with the approving this project. Joshua Lotman, 10104 East Theorem Drive, opposed. The scope and scale of this proposal is inappropriate for its context. This proposal would bring a dangerous increase of semi-truck traffic into a neighborhood setting. I hope that the board can see that this is not the highest and best use for this property and deny their application. Stephanie Hodgson, 10218 East Starion Avenue, opposed. Eastmark was designed as a family-oriented neighborhood. How is adding warehouses instead of parks promoting a family-oriented neighborhood? It's also questionable that Kevin Thompson has not abstained from previous meetings decisions when his consulting firm represents one of the companies doing all the work around Eastmark. He can't ethically represent his constituents when he has received financial gain from decisions made on the city council. Mark Kaiser, 9418 East Resistance Avenue, opposed. I am not an Eastmark resident in close proximity to the proposed site. While I'm not in total opposition to the project, I am in total opposition to the proposed location. This is due to the entry proposal onto Everton Terrace Road. I drive this part of Everton Terrace daily. It cannot accommodate semi-vehicle traffic. The road was designed for residential use only, and adding semi-traffic to this would be disastrous. Please consider moving the project so that entry-exit occurs on Elliott. Thank you. Holly Parkhouse, 9936 East Rubidium Avenue, opposed. I strongly oppose this warehouse being put up. Everton Terrace is a residential road and is inappropriate to allow semis and thousands of cars to be added to traffic on this road. It would create safety issues, pollution issues, traffic issues, and disrupt the neighborhood. Nancy Phillips, 10565 East Stern Avenue, opposed. I oppose the warehouse development in the Eastmark community. Everton Terrace is a small street. Adding thousands of parking spots for employees and semi-truck traffic will bring a significant amount of extra noise and traffic to our neighborhood and take a toll on the road itself. This is a residential community being turned into a warehouse district. Whitney Winter, 5024 South Newton Terrace. Everton Terrace is a tiny winding road through a residential area that can barely carry 2 cars passing on it. There's no biking or walking lane and is already dangerous because of that. To add heavy traffic, especially semi-truck or large vehicle traffic, would have devastating results, not to mention would be a traffic nightmare for residents in that area. It is not uncommon for one of our neighborhood youth to accidentally skid out onto Everton on a skateboard or scooter or to cruise around in golf courts. The issues are already precarious on this narrow residential through street, please know. Maria Funicello, 4443 South Matter, is opposed. Please do not allow this massive warehouse with 2,000 parking spaces into the neighborhood of Eastmark and Mesa. Paul Morrison, 10202 East Revolution Drive, is opposed. The noise and lights to build these buildings isn't part of the original plans. I oppose these buildings going up and with the names of the company on them. The lime green color is too loud. Homeowners should be compensated. This wasn't part of the plan. Shauna Cruza, 10746 East Palladium Drive, is opposed. I live in Eastmark and believe the way it is designed is bad for the neighborhood. Ismael Murillo, 9935 East Resistance Avenue. The application for the Indicat Mesa Industrial Park should be denied because the application has not satisfied the legal requirements for your consideration this evening. Furthermore, the City of Mesa Planning Department has omitted a petition of opposition from 726 community members who strongly oppose the project despite written confirmation from Kelly Rorex that it would be included on the citizen participation report as is required by 1167.3, the Mesa City Code. This application for the proposed industrial park does not satisfy the legal requirements there are a number of. Alexia Porto, no address provided, Mesa 85212. The city has already let the developers skip out an additional recreational park acreage that we paid for through additional taxes, as well as change the plan for the retail space in the community. I believe this will negatively impact our neighborhood as well as our home's value. The congestion around the current available restaurants will not be able to accommodate additional workers. Everton Terrace is already a busy street, and the additional traffic would create more dangers for this family community. Jonathan Antilla, 9410 East Ray Road, number 172, is opposed. This proposed development is in the backyards of all those houses east of Everton Terrace. There would be an immense amount of noise and activity pollution. Not to mention all the employees who don't necessarily live in the area coming and going at all hours. This would be a sizable disruption of life for all residents in a large area. Rebecca Shumway, no address provided, is opposed. I absolutely oppose this complex is way too close to homes. Eastmark was sold to residents as a nice neighborhood to live in, not in a place to stare at massive warehouses and semi-truck noise. City council should be ashamed of themselves. You need to care for the residents that live and spend money here and not just your dream of an industrial paradise. Such a shame. Daniel Zambrano, 9860 East Red Giant Drive, opposed. As a resident who lives off of Everton Terrace, this is an outrageous proposition. There's absolutely no reason for all that industrial traffic should be directed down a residential street. Any entrance or additional traffic should be exclusively off of Elliott. Nothing should be approved without a traffic survey being done first. Matthew Hickson, 4203 South Apollo, is opposed. We admittedly oppose the plans to add a massive warehouse development on the northern part of Everton Terrace. As our elected representatives, it's your responsibility to do what's best for our neighborhoods, and our community largely opposes this development. We have already been shorted on park acres that we have paid for through additional taxes, and the city has done nothing to hold the developer accountable. Additionally, the developers have altered the planned retail space for our community. With the help of you, our elected representatives, do your jobs and advocate on our behalf. The next group did not want their comments to be read into the record. That's
It's a totally different one. Oh, wait, yeah, right. Okay,
good.
yep.
Okay. But they do want to have their name and address read in as in opposition to this item. Elizabeth Atkins, 10542 East Sheffield Drive, is opposed. Lauren Tebenhoff, 10552 East Sebring Avenue, is opposed. Hannah Blackmer, 10753 East Sebring Avenue, is opposed. Jenny Choi, 9859 East Radioactive Drive, is opposed. Shailene Amos, 10535 East Lincoln Avenue, is opposed. Gavin Lau, 9859 East Radioactive Drive, is opposed. Monica Bouvoy, my apologies, is opposed. Robert Ho, 9955 East Retrograde Drive, is opposed. Lori Bell, 445 East Palladium Drive, is opposed. Cassandra Holtzhauer, 10633 East Sebring Avenue, is opposed. Christina Zimmerman, 10621 East Wavelength Avenue, is opposed. Heather Cellini, 10421 East Corbin Avenue, is opposed. Lindsay Wyatt, 4641 South Concord Lane, is opposed. Michelle Lee, 10057 East Seismic Avenue, is opposed. Laura Hennessy, 5047 South DeSault Way, is opposed. Kay Kleibow, 10253 East Strobe Avenue, is opposed. Ariella Sabo, 10163 East Revolution Drive, is opposed. Jason Plummer, 9853 East Retrograde Drive, is opposed. Erica Plummer, 9853 East Retrograde Drive, is opposed. Jill Hansen, 10203 East Revolution Drive, is opposed. Ariella Sabo, 10163 East Revolution Drive, is opposed. Bridge Elliott, 10123 Sphere Avenue, is opposed. Heather Cook, 4035 South Zeus, is opposed. We have just a couple of others. This one did not clarify whether they wish to speak or not. Kristen Bolstad, Did you wish to speak, or do you want your comment read into the record? Kristen? We'll go ahead and read that into the record. Kristen Bolstad, 10334 East Aperture Avenue. It seems rushed with little to no impact studies being done at the expense of local residents. The amount of heavy traffic this will bring is entirely unacceptable, and other solutions off Elliott need to be considered prior to using a local community road. Nicholas Rosen, did you wish your record comment to be read into the record? We'll go ahead and add that to the record then. Opposed, I am deeply concerned with the amount of traffic already accumulating on Everton Terrace. Why are we putting warehouses in a residential community when they seem to be building commercial warehouses all around us already? The last thing this community needs is busier streets with more traffic, and I'm pretty positive most all of the Eastmark community will oppose this. We have just 3 individuals who indicated that they wish to speak.
Okay. All right, thank you so
I'll
much.
let you take that.
Excuse me, thank you so much for reading all that. So we do have, as she mentioned, a couple people who wish to speak on this, so we will call you up. You have 3 minutes, and please read your name and address into the record. The first one we have is Liza Goodman. Is Liza Goodman here? She was opposed and wished to speak. Is there anybody on the line? I don't know if we need this. Nope, okay. Also, we have Amy Infantolino is opposed and wishes to speak. Is there any, okay. These were all submitted in advance of the meeting, so we don't have blue cards on these ones. And then the last one we have is Monica Miller, who was opposed and wished to speak.
Hello?
Yes, is this Monica?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Monica.
Okay, if you can say.
The
your name and
application
address
for the
record.
IndyCap. Okay. My address is 4211 South Nano, Mesa, Arizona, 85212.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
The application for the IndyCap. Oh,
Okay.
excuse me?
Oh, yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
The application for the IndyCap Industrial Park has not satisfied the legal requirements for your consideration this evening. The Dutch Architecture Group omitted material elements of the site plan application that are legally required to the Eastmark Community Plan as well as the Mesa City Code. Due to this, this application should be denied with prejudice. Site plan applications in Eastmark are required to conform to Title 1167 of the Mesa City Code. Pursuant to 1167-2, applications, supporting materials, and fees, the application is required to have a project description that is of sufficient scope and detail to allow a review of traffic generation. The project narrative and associated application materials for this project does not include a statement regarding traffic, and therefore this application should not have been considered complete. Despite multiple requests to the planning department and the applicant to learn why this was omitted from the application, no response has been provided. Peter Vargas, the traffic engineer who reviewed the subdivision plat, said that the statement regarding traffic generation is used to determine if a traffic study is required. Peter provided that if 300 trips are likely to occur during any given hour, then a study is needed. He also stated that he had not seen a statement regarding traffic generation for this project. Considering that the proposed plat contains a total of more than 1.6 million square feet of warehouse space, and the Institute of Transportation Engineers provides that on average, warehouses have 1 employee per 535 square feet, the IndyCap project will likely have more than 3,000 employees. Peter Vargas did provide that given this, the semi-truck traffic, and the associated traffic from the community, a study would probably be needed. He said that he typically reviews such statements before it goes to planning and zoning, and that a study will be done before it can be approved. Traffic generation, semi-truck traffic on Everton Terrace, traffic intensity during shift changes, and safety are a huge concern for our community. These concerns were expressed during the City Council meeting for the corresponding plat, and Nana Appia provided during a recorded meeting that traffic would be addressed during the site plan application process. Shockingly, this did not occur. Without the legally required information regarding traffic generation, it is impossible for MESA to ensure that the proposed project is safe as required by law. As members of the community, it is imperative to us that our government ensure that the legally required procedures are followed to ensure safety and to allow our due process rights. We should have had an opportunity to review all pertinent information that is required in advance of this meeting and had a chance to comment. Because this has not occurred, this application should be denied with prejudice.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any comments?
And I would also like to point out that a number of the residents who attempted to make comments were quite frustrated that only 600 characters were allowed. That's only 90 words. Given that each commenter is allowed 3 minutes, you should be allowing 3,000 to 4,000 characters. And the community feels it's very difficult to provide a substantial comment in relation to a complex issue in just 90 words, which is what 600 characters is essentially.
Thank you for your comments. We do also, obviously, allow people to attend in person and be on the phone. Are there any comments for Monica from the board at this time, or questions? Tim, did you have anything? No?
I'm just curious. A lot of the comments seem to talk about legal requirements, but I'm assuming the city looked at the legals. They're usually pretty thorough about that. Is there any response from staff or from legal about being satisfied about the legal requirements for all the submittals?
Yeah, if we can get staff to answer that question.
All right. Chair Sarkisian and board members. So staff does find that this meets the legal requirements of the application. So per section 1167(2)(b) applications, it states that applications required by this ordinance shall be filed with the Office of the Planning Division and include all of the following: an application provided by the city, the required documents and information in a form acceptable to the Planning Division, additional materials as required. The zoning administrator may require the submission of supporting materials as part of the application, including but not limited to statements, photographs, plans, drawings, renderings, models, material samples, and other items necessary to describe existing conditions and the proposed project. So a traffic report is not a standard requirement of the application. If it is determined necessary by the Transportation Division, they will request one during the review process.
Is anyone here from that department? Right?
We do have a representative from the Transportation Department if you would like to discuss.
Yeah, if they're available. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, Chair and Board. My name is Ryan Hudson. I'm the City Traffic Engineer with the City of Mesa Transportation Department. I can certainly answer any questions, but I'll speak first to kind of the discussion here. And when we talk about the requirements for a traffic statement or a traffic study, which was kind of referenced in some of the comments, there was some citations as to what the peak hour of when that would kick in and those sorts of things, which is in our standards. However, this development sits within the East Mart community, and there's a master transportation plan. And that master transportation plan does those traffic projections and shows the trips that are anticipated with these developments and the associated trip distribution. So the master transportation plan serves as that mechanism, and it conformed to what this development was and showed those traffic impacts.
Okay, so with the original master plan, that traffic study anticipated, like these uses that are pre-put in there, pre-zoned before, those zoning uses and possibilities were already in that study?
There was a master transportation plan update that included these.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there any other questions from the board for Mr. Peterson?
Through the chair to Ryan. So with on the, sorry, forget that. On Everton, it's 2 lanes each direction as you come down until you're past this, until you're right at this site, and then it narrows down to one lane each direction, right? So is that seems that was part of that master plan, was knowing this would be the technology core, it's the extra lanes are specifically for this site. Is that fair to say is that's what drove them to be that way in the first place?
Sure. Chair and Board Member Peterson, yes, the cross-section up from Elliott to a point, it's about a little bit over 2,000 feet south of Elliott Road. It's a 5-lane cross-section, so 2 lanes in each direction and a center two-way left turn lane. And yes, that was certainly built that way for a reason to handle the increased traffic patterns and volumes that are along this corridor. And then south of that point, that's when it transitions. I know you've already seen some images on that, but it transitions into a 2-lane, 1 lane in each direction, cross-section, 22-foot wide. So it's a very narrow kind of neighborhood collector street at that point south of this corridor.
Okay, gotcha. And do you have any concerns with semi-truck movements being able to turn into the proposed driveways for this project?
No concerns regarding turning into any sort of facilities within the development. No.
All those meet the criteria. And then maybe speak to a lot of the neighbor concerns were about truck traffic going further south into the residential area. Maybe if you could just speak as far as typical warehouse traffic associated with this development and what the flows of those would look like.
Sure. It's certainly not anticipated that any truck traffic would want to go south, just given how that cross-section does narrow on Everton Terrace. Like I said, it narrows down into a 22-foot wide cross-section, so it's extremely narrow. So any trucks that would be accessing that area, it just wouldn't make much sense for them to go that direction, to go northbound up to Elliott. And then I know, as it was previously stated as well, there will be that connection of Mesquite ultimately as it moves eastbound or eastward all the way to Signal Butte. So there'll be that connection out to Signal Butte in the future as well.
Okay. And is there any known timing for that connection for Mesquite to tie over to Signal Butte?
I wouldn't just be able to speak to that one accurately.
Just depending on how that property develops?
I'd be looking to planning staff on something like that.
And then I think that was, yep, that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that the southbound is only 1 lane. It is 3 lanes where the proposed entrance is.
Sir,
2 northbound, 1 southbound.
Sir, did you have a comment card, or were you one of the people we were trying to get in touch with? I don't have your name or address. I don't have.
Yes, I did already submit a comment. My name is Scott Bittner. But I'd like to point out it is 3 lanes
Okay.
where the proposed entrance is.
Thank you. We understand. All right. Thank you. Does the applicant want to come up and respond?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I think you unfortunately had to read all of the opposition. I do appreciate that. I think you can see the majority of it's related to land use, not related necessarily to the site plan, which is really what's in front of this board today. That said, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Are there any comments for the applicant? Questions? Okay. No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are any questions for staff before we close the public? All right, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back for discussion. Anything anybody wants to say?
Chair,
Board Member Allen?
if I could go ahead. I've taken a lot of look at this site plan, and that's what we're here for today. We're not here for the use. We're here to just look at a site plan. This is an allowed use by the zoning, according to the Eastmark plan, according to the City of Mesa General Plan. It's an approved use. I do, however, I empathize with the neighborhood because they didn't know what was going to go there. They probably figured it was something because it's part of the technology corridor. But I think the applicant has done a good job to try to separate. A 300-foot separation is quite a bit of separation between the homes and the property of this development. So just as for me, looking at just the site plan, I don't have any issues as far as the site plan, and I would be in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other board member comments or questions? Nope. Okay. I would have to echo that it is a very large separation. And looking also at the landscape plan, I see there's a lot of 24-inch and 36-inch box trees in between. So on top of the already Frisbee golf thing, it seems like that is a very large distance. And it is a site plan review, not a land use. The land uses have been planned and possibility for a very long time, as in the original transportation plan and development plan. So with that, I will entertain a motion if there's no other comments.
Chair, if I could go ahead then.
Okay, board member.
I would make a motion that we approve ZON 21-01224 District 6 within the 3,700 to 4,100 blocks of South Everton Terrace, located west of Signal Butte Road and south of Elliott Road, for a site plan review with a staff recommendation of approval with conditions.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Board member Ayers. All right, all please vote. There we go. All right, board member Allen.
A.
Board member Boyle.
Aye.
And board member Crockett is absent. So with that, the item passes with board member Crockett absent. All right, next item is ZON 21-1237, District 5, within the 5,600 to 5,800 blocks of East McDowell Road and within the 2,800 block of North 58th Circle, located west of Record Road on the north side of McDowell Road, site plan review for the development of 2 office warehouse buildings. And Chloe is here for the presentation.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board and chair. One moment, I'm gonna try and get the PowerPoint to pull up. This is case ZON 21-01237. This is for a site plan review request to allow for the development of 2 office warehouse buildings. Overall, within the this is located within the 5,600 to the 5,800 blocks of East McDowell Road on the north side and within the 2,800 blocks of North 58th Circle on the west side. It is located west of Record Road on the north side of McDowell Road. It is located within the employment character area for the general plan, which purpose is to provide for a wide range of employment opportunities in high quality settings. The zoning is a light industrial zoning, which an office warehouse use is permitted. This is the site photo. The current site is vacant, bordering up against the Longbow Golf Course. The site plan is for 2 office warehouse buildings. Building 1 is proposing a 129,165 square foot office and warehouse development to be split within 4 tenants. Building 2 is 115,121 square feet. Again, office and warehouse to be split between 4 tenants. Truck entry is from 58th Circle only, and the exit from 58th Circle or the southwest corner of McDowell. These are the building 1 elevations and the building 2 elevations that are proposed. It did go to design review board for the March 8th work session with minor comments from the board. The citizen participation was to property owners within 1,000 feet in HOAs and registered neighborhoods. There were large amounts of citizen comment through both the 2 zoning meetings, Zoom meetings offered by the applicant for their citizen outreach, as well as several emails and large amounts of comments and petitions that were received by staff. The overall concerns are mainly due to traffic and noise increase due to trucks, as well as the proposed development size and layout. The applicant did provide a trip generation letter, as well as the city does have their traffic estimates from 2020, which do predict their by day, and we do have a representative from transportation here to speak on any questions or concerns. Overall, the findings that the request does comply with 2040 Mesa General Plan and meets the review criteria for site plan review outlined in section 1169.5 of the Mesa zoning ordinance. Staff does recommend approval with conditions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for staff at this time? Nope, all right. Thank you so much. Is the applicant here? You can state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. For your record, my name is Taylor Earl with the law firm of Earl & Curley. Our address is 3101 North Central Avenue in Phoenix. I appreciate Chloe's presentation. I'll do my best not to duplicate, but just to add to that. Here on behalf of Sun State Builders, this is the location of the property here. Good location off of the 202 freeway. Just a couple of things that I would just highlight. One is that we do have the golf course directly to the north. We have Boeing that's off to our west. We have flanked by self-storage facilities, except for a vacant piece, which is to our right, which is developing with a similar use, but at a smaller scale as the site is smaller. And then the Cal Portland site. Also, as at the southwest corner of this slide, you'll see the Falcon Field Airport, which is significant, as you can see the orientation of the airport. And so we come off the tail end of that. And so part of the reason that this area is designated for industrial on the general plan. And so, or employment, I should say. So this is the Mesa 2040 general plan. Again, this site is designated as employment. You see there where we've designated the site, and you can see that the other areas that are also part of that employment. Within the general plan, the statement regarding employment is that the goal of employment districts is to provide for a wide range of employment opportunities in high quality settings. And so again, I would just highlight on this slide that you see that there is a transition between the yellow, which is residential, and the employment category, something that was envisioned to be within the general plan, again, a voter approved document as well. And then also the site is within a Falcon Field sub area. So this area also includes an abundance of high quality employment for professionals, technical experts, and highly skilled labor. So again, part of another plan, sub area to be near the Falcon Field Airport. According to the staff report, as Chloe mentioned, the proposed project conforms with the intent of the employment character area and the intent of the Falcon Field sub area, but providing a wide range of opportunities for the employment of professionals, technical experts, and high-skilled labor in a high-quality setting. So I highlight those things just to establish that there is forethought that went into the designation of this particular property in the employment designation and under that sub-area. And so we're in perfect conformance to that. Also worth noting that it is a growth area. Here a statement that this area is expected to see about 10,000 more jobs by 2040. Most of the infrastructure is in place in this area. Again, the star designating our project. So coming in, now diving into the site here, a little bit zoomed in. And we'll walk through just some of the background here. So the site was zoned to its current zoning of LIPAD, so the light industrial planned area development many years ago, which is the zoning that allows us to proceed forward with the uses that we're proposing. So some history here, 85 zoned to AMI, and in 08 was zoned to LIPAD. And so we're developing the site in accordance with the existing zoning. There was, I think, a subsequent action from LIPAD to LIPAD, but ultimately the point is that this site has been zoned with its current zoning for many years, and we're in conformance with that. So we are, again, not changing zoning, not adding uses to the property. We're also not seeking any deviations from the development standards. So no variances are being requested. So we conform with the existing zoning and the design criteria. Again, our request here is just a site plan to allow 2 office warehouse buildings. And this went to design review, as Chloe mentioned. So a couple of just aspects of the project that we would just note. So this does bring more jobs to the area. It's a good opportunity for a light industrial user. Again, I pointed out the proximity to the freeways on its placement at the tail end of the airport makes it a good use from a land use perspective. Again, decisions already made. And again, we anticipate the site generating quality jobs, developing under the existing zoning, conforms to the existing zoning criteria and design criteria, no changes. And so, we've worked hard on this to provide an attractive and appealing design with attention to the public aspects of the project that are visible in that direction. I'll walk you through that. The building massing is reduced by vertical or horizontal wall offsets, something the Design Review Board looked at, and articulation. And so, again, if you look at some of these measurements, which you think are significant, there is a significant distance between the property on the south side of the street to our building there, about 222 feet to the south side of the building. And then before you get all the way to any of the loading areas, you're looking at close to 400 feet. And so there's a significant right-of-way there, 120 feet of right-of-way, and then we have landscape setback, and then we have a parking, and then we have the building. And so there's quite a bit of distance between the properties on the south side of McDowell and the actual loading areas that are part of our project. I would also highlight that the orientation of our buildings is such that the truck bays are fully internalized to the site. They're not, again, oriented in such a way, or if we had the buildings running north-south, then you would have the truck bays with a greater view into those. And so from the view of McDowell Road, it would just be the building, which again, we've articulated and gone through design review. And so by orienting in that way, we're pushing not only the distance away from the residential to the south, but also orienting it so that that is within that area. That will significantly reduce the visibility into that area almost completely, especially when the property to the right develops. And it'll also significantly reduce any noise escaping because of the obstructed. Basically, you think about freeways that have very tall sound walls. Essentially, we have almost a 40-foot sound wall that would be placed in between that area and the residential to the south. So again, just to kind of zoom in here on a couple of these things, 120-foot right-of-way, and then you transition, you have a 30-foot landscape setback, and then you have a 102-foot building setback as it sits today. So ultimately 222 feet to the building itself. And then again, it's about just under 400 feet to that loading area. Again, this is the design of the building. We've done our best to go, again, it's more of a design review question, but just to reassure the commission that we have gone through that process and again, had some good comments from design review, but nothing that was dramatic or would dramatically change what you're seeing here. And so there's been a lot of attention put into articulation for the building. Also, we would just note that we have worked closely with staff and the technical staff to go through this process, which is a fairly technical process that we do with staff. One of the things that had come up and what ultimately caused us to need to continue the case previously is that there was a comment that came up from transportation that they preferred that we ultimately move our driveway to the west in order to line up and have a safer four-way intersection with the driveway that is existing to the south. And so we were happy to accommodate that. And as we made that change, it was close enough to this hearing that staff felt it was appropriate to continue that. And so that's the reason that this case was continued previously. Again, our efforts to work with staff, it's not a comment that had been brought up early in the process, but we were still happy to make that change. And as Chloe mentioned, and I know that staff can speak to, this area has a lot of capacity that's on McDowell, a lot of capacity available, and we fall in the category for the trips that are currently there between 10 and 19.9, and as we understand it, we're at the very lower end of that threshold. In other words, there's a lot of capacity left on McDowell, and again, this use is already permitted. And so there isn't a traffic concern. We did do a traffic generation, and I'm happy to dive into the details on this, but the conclusion was that due to the low forecasted peak hour volumes at the subject site, site-generated traffic for the proposed development is not anticipated to cause detrimental impacts to the surrounding roadway network. And if you look up, the chart here designates the warehousing vehicles versus warehousing trucks. And in the AM peak, we're looking at 3 trips coming in, and the PM peak, we're looking at 3 trips coming in. So in terms of the truck traffic during peak hours, it's really quite minor. So again, similar to the case that you just heard, this is a case that has zoning entitlements. We're here just for a site plan, and we have worked closely with staff to make sure that we meet all the criteria, that we're meeting the technical requirements, and we think above and beyond that, we've put in features here that we think are accommodating to residential. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any board member comments or questions for the applicant? No? Okay, thank you so much. So we will begin working on the public hearing. Just so you know, we do have the petition, so that staff has that for Z121-01237 with the signatures, so that is added to the case file, and we've all seen that. And then we also have comment cards, people who want to, these are speak? Okay, so Vice Chair is going to read in those comments.
These are residents who submitted comments, wanted them to be read into the record. David Partridge, 5733 East Leonora Street, is in opposition. Apache Wells community is nothing but residential homes. With this much truck traffic, it would be like dropping a high-traffic truck stop right up against your neighborhood. Who would possibly want that? Traffic is a main concern. Slow-moving trucks waiting to turn, backed up on two main roads, can only turn into a safety issue for all wanting to get through the area. Please stop this project. There are lots of commercial areas around. Why plant a trucking company and all the noise and slow-moving trucks by a residential area that does not want an industrial undertone pushing against us? David Bothwell, 2454 North Sneed Drive, is in opposition. This is a sleeper retirement community where the air pollution impact will be harsh. Was an environmental study done? The noise pollution will be deafening, and both together will drive down our property value as well as cause severe health issues. The traffic that will flow through our side streets will become congested and dangerous, creating accidents, injuries, and death. The main road, McDowell, cannot handle that many hundreds of trucks each and every day. Do not do this to us. Do not put this monstrosity in our retirement community area. It will cause irreparable damage. Retirement area. Janine Mitchell, 5825 East Leland Street, is in opposition. I oppose this rezoning because it is immediately adjacent to a large residential area. This project will destroy home values. It will cause traffic jams for hundreds of automobiles and cause a huge noise and pollution problem for those living anywhere in the vicinity. Why would the city approve this when there is a lot of vacant land almost on top of the freeways? That is where this kind of industry belongs. It will not only affect Apache Wells, but also Painted Mountain, Mesa, Desert Heights, Ridgeview, Red Mountain, even Las Sendas. McDowell traffic will use residential streets too instead. Gail Fassett, 2420 North Sneed Drive, is in opposition. I feel there is much more appropriate location for a large truck facility near McDowell and 58th Circle. With a large number of 55-plus residents living across McDowell Road, I feel that added traffic noise and exhaust pollution will negatively affect the property values of those homes. The volume of trucks and employees using the streets will lead to congestion, causing local cars to begin using the streets through Apache Wells HOA, where there is much less traffic. This brings concerns as the general public is not used to sharing streets with golf carts as those used to get around in Apache Wells. Deb Hill, 2551 North Lima Road, is in opposition. This proposed trucking facility is not something that should be near residential homes due to the noise, pollution, and traffic on such a busy road. I can't imagine anyone, including this board, that this is a good idea to have a trucking facility in this location. I would hope that this could be located somewhere else instead of a busy road like McDowell Road. 2340 North Tully Street is in opposition. I live in the Apache Wells community and have enough loud vehicles up and down the roads all night and day long. We don't need noise trucks all night too. Please stop this from happening. Tricia Malat, 2723 North Trevino Place, is in opposition. I already made a comment but wanted to extend my concern for this development that is planned to be built directly across from a large 55-plus community and other residential areas. With the already increased air traffic that is occurring directly over our homes, we now have to deal with increased semi-truck traffic that could be occurring 24/7. This adds to further noise pollution and air pollution in the area. In addition, there are safety concerns with added traffic it could bring to Apache Wells. Why isn't this being done closer to the freeway and away from residential areas? Linda Silva Stone, 2706 North Lima Drive, is in opposition. I live in Apache Wells on Lima Drive. I just built a home here and it is about 10 homes away from the McDowell Road entrance into the community. I'm opposing the plan of the two warehouse buildings being built on McDowell Road and 58th Street, which will be bringing a large number of semi-trucks coming and going, causing an increase in traffic, more noise, and added pollution. This type of biz could easily be constructed in another location that isn't literally across the street from a residential community. I am positive that the people in Las Sendas would not be happy if this was a block from their homes. Cheryl Gabriel, 5735 East McDowell Road, is in opposition. I am concerned the traffic on McDowell Road and 56 will be so congested that it will be very hard to get out on McDowell Road. Also, I'm very concerned on the noise that will affect the residents in this area. The road will get torn up with big truckloads, and there goes a nice road torn, and our taxes are going to keep fixing the road. This is a residence area, and I would like it keeping it that way. There's plenty of land close to the 202 that they can purchase so that it is not in a residential area. Sandy Overby, 5837 East Norland Street, is in opposition. We are concerned about the traffic impacts and safety for our community. We believe you are aware of the City of Mesa Design Standards Section 208 41 and McDOT 612 intersection spacing in the plans that we have seen so far. One area of concern is we don't see the required deceleration lane for the north side of McDowell at the site. The amount of noise from the trucks as they ingress and egress the site is also a concern for our community. For these reasons, we would like to request left turns only into and out of this project. We feel these items would increase safety and reduce noise. Thomas Crosby, 5735 East McDowell Road, is in opposition. As a resident of the Wells and live on Wells Drive close to the main gate on McDowell Road, I'm very concerned about traffic safety with the proposed developments, entrance, exit driveway directly across McDowell from our main gate. Left turns from McDowell into the Wells and into the development puts vehicles into head-on conditions. The traffic study done 2020 is basically invalid as Boeing was shut down and Amazon was not up and running then. Traffic has increased considerably since then due to those two businesses. I suggest in the name of safety, making the entrance a right turn only off westbound McDowell and exit a right turn only onto westbound McDowell. Access to the 202 loop is easy off westbound or westbound utilizing Recker or Higley, and eliminate the center entrance for cars altogether. Any delay in allowing the Mesa ambulance or fire into the Wells could be life or death. If the development has to go in, I would sure like to see the buildings not quite so high. They will completely block out the view of the mountains we currently enjoy. The additional traffic will surely impact the property values here in the Wells as well. Don Abbey, 5904 East Player Place. Opposed, allowing this facility will transform the existing quiet neighborhood to an industrial nightmare of noise, pollution, and vibrations, with trucks accessing McDowell Road continually to the 202 freeway. McDowell Road at this location backs up to dozens of homes that have existed here for decades. It is not in the best interest of the local community at this location. It would be more appropriate in a more industrial setting. Susan Irma, 5736 East McDowell Road, is in opposition. Traffic on McDowell Road is already heavy. The traffic analysis was done during the pandemic and when winter visitors were not here. An entrance directly across from the Wells main entrance could create a potential for head-on accidents and tie up while Wells residents and visitors are waiting to open the main gate. Visitors must wait to be buzzed in, and with more traffic, it would create a safety issue. The noise at McDowell is already a nuisance. I'm afraid property values in the Wells will go down with the traffic noise created by the development, as well as the loss of the view of Red Mountain. That one's unknown. Okay.
All right, thank you so much. And then we do have a couple who wish to speak. So we'll start with those I have right here. Please state your name and address for the record. It is James Rydell, wishes opposed and wishes to speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to present our opposition. My name is Jim Riedel. I am the president of the HOA at the Wells, a senior community existing of 422 homes established nearly 40 years ago. I would like to read into minutes the petition we circulated starting March 1st and then elaborate if I still have a few minutes of time, a few seconds of time. As I said, we started the petition March 1st after a couple of the Zoom teleconferences we had with the developer. I read the petition. We, the Wells residents, have significant concerns about the height of and the additional traffic impact of the two proposed buildings at the Longbow Business Park located at the corner of East McDowell and 58th Circle. The car parking entrance is only 79 feet from our 5735 East McDowell main gate, and that is my address, 5735. So I would like to elaborate a little bit on the height and then mainly about the traffic impact. When we had the original prints on the development, we only had 8.5 by 11 sheets. It was very hard to determine the height, so that's why in our petition, as of March 1st, we questioned what the height would be. Since that time, we found the height is within the 40-foot allowed, but our understanding is the building will be 39 feet, and there may be 2-foot signage, tenant signage, that will take the building past the 40-foot limit. So that would just be for clarification. But most importantly, as a lot of the comment cards already stated, is a traffic impact. As I stated, our community is 5735 East McDowell. It is exactly between 56th Street and 58th Circle. We actually extend a little bit east of 58th Circle. So our property is smack dab directly across from this proposed development. Traffic, it's already been mentioned, concern about noise, pollution, volume, what kind of cargo will be carried on the trucks, first responder response. So our concern really was the entrance to the trucks and the exit. If those could be right turn only, as other comment cards said, that would eliminate any trucks trying to use the center turn only lane to try to get into the facility. But then we had concern about the parking that was 79 feet away from our main gate. I'm not sure if Ryan Hudson or somebody else from the transportation department worked with the developer, but they did move that car parking. They moved it 79 feet to the west. Now it is directly across from our main gate. And left-hand turn only into our community or into that car parking, I would have to defer to Ryan, but it sounds like those cars will pass. But the concern is if there's any cars backed up trying to make a left-hand turn into the storage parking lot, it would prevent or greatly hinder any cars trying to turn left out of our community. They would have no access to McDowell, even using the center turn-only lane if cars were backed up. And if trucks are allowed to turn left in or turn left out of the development, again, they would back up that center turn lane, and that would have a great impact on people getting in our community. Not a good solution, but potential solution for our community is we have a second gate located on 56th Street. But then that would drive most, if not all, of our 422 units to drive down 56th Street, taking us into many other senior communities along 56th, which has not been developed for major traffic. It's 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It is a designated bike path. McDowell is a designated bike path. McDowell, our 5 and 10K runs go down McDowell Ave. So there's a lot of concerns about this traffic pattern coming in and out of that development, especially how it would impact the Wells community.
Okay. Can you summarize, finish up?
I am.
Thank you.
I would thank the council for hearing our concerns, and if you have any questions, whatever time you give me, I will attempt to answer them.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any board member questions for the neighbor? Nope, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next speaker I have is Kimberly Marshall.
I would like to give a petition in.
Oh, yes, please.
I already gave this to the design meeting.
Is Kimberly Marshall here or on the phone?
Yes.
Oh, great. Can you please state your name
I
and
am
address
here.
for the record?
Kimberly Marshall, 5846 East Nora, Mesa, Arizona, 85215.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes?
I had written a letter. Perfect. I had written a letter, and I'm just going to read the letter out loud. At the recent neighborhood meeting, we were made aware that traffic impacts were noted as a top concern for the neighborhoods. I wanted to provide a bit more factual for this concern. As per McDOT, roadside design section 6.1.2, intersections along arterial streets should be spaced 660 feet apart. However, 58th Circle's distance is only 370 feet apart from the opposing entrances of the Wells and Ironwood, creating a left-out conflict from 58th Circle. By limiting the traffic to right in, right out with a median pork chop at 58th Circle, the City of Mesa will increase safety by decreasing left turn movements onto McDowell. And furthermore, this restriction will decrease potential pedestrian conflict with the school bus stop directly east of the subject parcel access. Additionally, according to the City of Mesa design standards, developments which will provide 200,000 square feet are required to have a dedicated right turn lane. This project is slated for 244,286 square feet in total for both the buildings. Once the overall site is completed, this deceleration lane will be required to provide safe traffic movements from the westbound McDowell traffic through at 58th Circle. Our second concern is the additional noise this facility will create. We purchased our home during the recent housing crisis, so our options were somewhat limited. Our home backs onto McDowell Road, which is already quite noisy. While the traffic report indicated there are only 5 to 6 trucks during peak hours, the overall number total of vehicles, trucks included, during a 24-hour period is going to be 565, which impacts the quality of our lives, especially the truck air brakes and idling across the property. While not required by the development, a distribution center is permitted under the L1 zoning. We would hope that as good neighbors, they would consider some noise mitigation measures, which could include no eating traffic movements, similar to the other L1 properties, or enhanced landscaping across the south side of McDowell Road, or some sort of contribution to those facing McDowell for soundproofing their windows.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions? No, thank you so much for your comments. All right, next we have, let's see. They did not say if they wish to speak or not. Is Kate McSwiggan? I can't, oh, sorry. Did you want?
I intend to speak, but after I heard the gentleman over there mention some things, I was kind of curious.
Can you please come up to the podium and state your name and address?
My name is Kate.
At the podium, please, so we can.
I shrank an inch. My name is Kate McSwiggan. I own the property at 5802 East Lockwood Street in Mesa. I'm in the Apache Wells community. After hearing the individual speak, it indicates that the property is designated for light industrial, but I'm not sure what is your definition of light industrial? There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of semis and trucks going through there. To me, that's not light industrial. I'm not sure what light industrial is, but when you've got hundreds of trucks, semis going through there daily, to me, that's not light industrial. And also, what are the high-quality jobs? What high-quality jobs? There's truckers, okay, and they can operate out of anywhere. And then there's people in the office. What's the high-quality jobs? I don't see any. And how many bays are going to be there? 78 bays, 24 hours a day, hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. That's not even mentioning the pollution, the noise, these are retirement communities, you know? Are people going to slow down? We travel by golf carts. Are they going to slow down for us? I know they're not going to be through hopefully the main communities, but all the employees are. People, we walk daily. People are on walkers. We're polite. We stop. We let them go. Are these people in a hurry to get to work or to cut through going to do that? I don't think so, but I just thought I'd bring that up. To me, is that in light industrial? I would beg to differ. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Okay. All right, next speaker I have is Carmela Staley. She's opposed and wishes to speak. And again, can you speak your name and address for the record? And you have 3 minutes.
I'm Carmela Staley, 5735 East McDowell Road, directly across from the proposed development. Thank you, Chair and members, for your attention. This location, we have been there for decades. Objection is to the density and scope of the project. This was and is your opportunity to show the residents of the Wells and the surrounding communities that you care about us. Do you realize that from Higley Road to Wrecker to McDowell to McKellips is almost completely high-density 55-plus community? Traffic and egress, we are a gated community. We only have 2 ways in and out of our park. And they're getting 3, and only off McDowell Road. And they're taking away one of ours, possibly, by having it directly across from our main gate. A 2020 traffic study during a pandemic, possibly during the summer, we never got that question answered, is not valid. There are 422 homes. Many of those are gone in the summer. The pollution of idling diesel trucks and bays mean that they plan to have 78 bays being used. Our health is important. For many, this is our only home. I am an Arizona resident. I've been here since 1967. I've been in Mesa for 17 years. I'm very disappointed in what I see going on. It's not easy for seniors to move who have varying degrees of health, should we have to do that. Developers have many choices and much money behind them. Our property values will go down if we cannot get in and out of McDowell Road. 24/7 noise from truck bays. I can tell you the name of the song that they're playing at the golf course in their outdoor venue at night with my doors and windows closed. What do you think this is going to do to us? David Luna, our council member, I want this on the record, was contacted by phone, email, and I did speak to his assistant Antonio and a personal invitation to come and see the issues, but there was no response. Very disappointed there too. Like I said, it's almost all seniors, that entire area. I ask that you consider us in this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any questions for her? Nope. Next speaker is Donald McDermott. Is Donald?
He's passing.
Okay. He said he is opposed to this item.
Yeah.
All right, next. And next person I have is Kirk Mahoney. Is opposed to this item and wishes to speak. If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Kirk Mahoney, 2654 North Armour. Madam Chair, Board, I represent the HOA Board of Apache Wells. That's 1,414 residents. You have the petition that was signed by that group. That's 1,202 signatures. So we probably could resolve this in our complaint in two different ways. One is noise. I have a National Transportation Board noise map that is as recent as 2018. So this is 4 years old. It already puts us in a red zone, and with the additional development that's going on at Falcon Field, and with the addition of this project, we believe that noise level is going to raise at least another level. I have this. If you'd like to see it, I can pass it to you for review and discussion. The other is the traffic, and a lot of people have complained about the traffic. We're concerned about the traffic on McDowell. Several of our residents live on McDowell, but we are also concerned about the alternative routes that people will start taking once McDowell gets busy. That's 56th Street that goes all the way through north and south of our property. That's Hermosa Vista that goes primarily east and west on our property. And then Player that goes east and west, doesn't go all the way through the property, but halfway to 56th Street. What we've already experienced in the past with the businesses that have started up on McDowell is people cutting through from McKellips, taking 56th, and getting into one of the commercial businesses on McDowell. They speed, they stop hesitantly at a four-way stop sign at Hermosa Vista and 56th Street. And this will only add to that additional traffic that'll be in our community. And you've heard we're a 55 plus, a lot of golf carts. We've got a golf course in that neighborhood that we're built around. And the other part that people haven't talked about, but I witness every day, is power wheelchairs that are trying to make their way into the community activities. There's not going to be a community like we know it today if that's alternative traffic starts coming through our community. The other thing about traffic, from the corner of Wrecker going west, there are 3 lanes. The third lane, the curbside lane, reduces after the entrance to the public storage unit that's to the east of this development. With the trucks coming down that traffic lane, they're going to have to merge left, merge with the traffic that's already on McDowell, and then make a sharp right-hand turn onto 58 Circle. 58 Circle isn't wide enough for them to do so safely, so they're going to swerve even further left to make that turn into the property. That's our concern. That will impede traffic headed west on McDowell, and that will also then force people into alternative routes. That's our concern. I've got a map of that merger lane, if you'd like to see that as well. I've got some measurements to show you what the distance is for that merging lane. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wished to speak or hadn't gotten a chance to speak? Nope. Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'll close the public meeting. Well, actually, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know that with regard to the traffic, fundamentally, it really does get down to a use question of whether, I've heard concerns about there being trucks, but with this type of use and designation and zoning, those trucks are going to be a natural part of how the site develops. And so I think a lot of what you're hearing is just that the use will be there and therefore will generate traffic. We have worked closely with transportation and the city and done what's been asked of us, restricted access points. The trucks can only enter into 58 Circle. They're not permitted to enter into the middle entrance. The far left entrance is an exit only. The trucks can't exit, they can't use the middle at all for any type of egress. So we have worked with the city to restrict access as a site planning issue to address that and limit it. But there's a certain point at which the site does have to function and is going to generate trucks under the existing zoning. And so again, we would, if there's technicals, traffic, transportation questions, we would defer those to city staff, but we have, done what has been asked of us, including even recently shifting the driveway at the request of staff.
That was one of my questions. So the driveway change was the request of staff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then I have a question for staff. Thank you. First question was with the moving of the driveway entrance, what was the thought process on that? Because they're saying there could be conflict, but then the applicant mentioned the restriction of the center driveway maybe being restricted. So how is it the design, or how are you guys restricting truck traffic in that entrance?
So, Chair and Board, to answer the first question, which is regarding the driveway alignment, it's our current practice and our standards to always try to have developments on either side of an arterial road as they come in to align their driveways. Now, when this development came in with the driveway, we did not see the other side of McDowell on the site plan, so it was an oversight that it was off a little bit. So it is always our goal to align driveways, and how it was offset previously was kind of offset in a manner that creates unsafe movement. So if you can picture McDowell Road, if you had driveways that were misaligned, you could have opposing vehicles in the two-way left turn lane crossing each other to get to those access points. With them aligned, that prevents that situation and creates a safer type of movement. And for the second question, if you don't mind repeating.
He mentioned that they're going to try to prevent or not allow trucks to go in
Yes.
off that center. So how does that work? Is that a design or is it just a memo?
It's all really with their site design. So how the access to the truck bays is all forced off of 58th Circle, and the westernmost driveway on the site is going to be designated as an exit-only driveway. So that will be enforced with traffic control, and again, reinforced with just the site design. So that middle driveway on McDowell Road only provides access into that front parking lot.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions, Board Member Peterson or Board Member Ayers?
I'm curious, with the restriction of McDowell, was there consideration, is there a need for the decel lane? I see that reduction does happen there and it kind of comes down. Was there any conversation or any thought as far as that process is concerned?
Sure. So regarding decel lanes, that conversation was had and that was looked into, just given just the overall site design and how this access was kind of broken out in the different aspects as we just discussed, and the fact that the truck traffic will be forced to use 58 Circle. That is the reason why, we're not requiring a decel lane. As to speaking to the lane reduction out on McDowell Road, that lane reduction is coming from the east, heading west from the intersection where we have that additional lane for additional capacity at the signalized intersection of Record and McDowell. And as you move west, it transitions back into what McDowell Road cross-section is, which is a 5-lane arterial. And at that point, we do not feel the need for the decel lane.
Board Member Peterson, did you have any? It was the same question. Okay. And then I had a question that went left my head. Are there any other questions for staff at this time? No. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll close the public meeting and bring it back for discussion and a motion.
Maybe I'll start up, Madam Chair. So I mean, with all of us definitely appreciate the neighbor concerns and comments and spending your time to share those. With as a planning and zoning board, our purview is always narrowed to the action at hand, and which is site plan review only. It's not as has been discussed, the land use, the light industrial, all that's been approved years ago and part of the general plan, and there's a legal land right to that approved zoning. I live in this area. I drive that section of McDowell Road frequently, and I'm well aware of the Falcon Field and the impacts that come with Falcon Field and the airport and the associated traffic around that. And Falcon Field was there. That was there before. It's been there for 80 years almost, and is or even previous to that, and drives a lot of that. I think this, for the being in the overflight zone of the airport and the restrictions that come with that this is an appropriate site plan for that zoning designation. It gives good buffers on McDowell Road, has thoughtful building orientation where the trucks are, the truck traffic is limited in between the buildings and screened by the buildings, and the access, appreciate the access and those things. And for those reasons, I think that for that site, that the item we have before us is regarding site plan requirements for this site, and I think that those have been thoughtfully addressed.
Are there any other comments? I just have to notice that comment that I do appreciate, now that I can understand how you're restricting it, I can see how the truck traffic would be restricted from that center entrance, because they basically would be going into the smaller parking area, and it would be a maze to get through there. So it does show that it would, access would be off of 58th Street, and then obviously they can't put a decel lane on someone else's property if they were gonna do that anyway. So they would be off of 58th Street and cycle through the site and then back out on the opposite side. So that kind of alleviates my concern over the traffic, as you mentioned, with the hazards with cross access. And as Board Member Peterson mentioned, we are following code requirements and what is provided with us and through staff. And so with that, I would be supportive of this site plan, as this has been, the use and all the other items within this district have been in place for quite some time. With that, I'll entertain a motion if they're from anyone.
Yeah, if I can go ahead and go, Chair. I would make a motion that we approve ZON 2101-237 District 5 within the 56 to 5800 blocks of East McDowell Road and within the 2800 block of North 58th Circle located west of Wrecker on the north side of on the north side of McDowell Road. Site plan review and with along with the staff recommendation of approval with conditions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Board Member Allen?
Aye.
Board Member Crockett is absent, and Board Member Boyle actually had to step out, so he is absent also. So it passes with 5 votes and 2 absent. And that is our agenda for today. Is there anything else from the planning directors?
Nope, nothing else for staff.
We're good. The public here, we can speak to you afterwards if you like. Yes.
No, nothing else from staff, Chair.
Thank you so much. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Board Member Allen, for staying on. Thanks. Chair adjourned.